Hi, I'm back. Oh, what the f***? There we go. Back. Been doing stuff. Haven't been doing this stuff, but other stuff. Hope you're all good. Hope you're all COVID free. It's been really a messed up situation, but say la vie. Anyway, the immediate plan is to get this carburetor cleaned up. It's not much to it. It's a little dinky ass carburetor. I looked into getting a carburetor kit, and unbelievably it's 38 bucks, and that's just nuts. So the reality is the only perishable parts is this O-ring. It's an O-ring right here, and a rubber gasket that goes around the bottom, and everything else it's pretty trouble free. So I'm going to take this thing apart carefully and see what we can see. This O-ring is a bit smashed down, but I'm sure I can find one that size for less than $38, and I'll just be careful about getting the float bowl off and not harm the gasket that's on the bottom of that. Let's go. Okay, here it goes. Alright, so we'll just take this thing apart, see if we can save 38 bucks. Gaskets in one piece, beauty. Look at all this stuff on here. It's just varnishing that. That's the float, and it's just stuck because of all the gunk. And you can see this stuff. This is what we need to get off of here. So we'll continue disassembling it. Oh, gasket come off in one piece. Oh yeah, I mean that thing's petrified, but I'm going to put it back on. Look at inside here. Just nasty. So we continue. See if we can get the float off of here. Nope. Well. Try to get the O-ring out. No dice on that. I'm probably going to have to soak the bottom of this for a while to loosen some of that up. Okay, got the O-ring out. Get the main jet out. This is just a little, size is this thing, like a 6mm? Yep. Man, these are all gummed up. So the main jet's out, tiny little main jet. Now we get the float off. Oh yeah, there's a little gasket around the base of the main jet too, if I recall. Maybe not on this one. No, not on this one. Well, some of that stuff that I was talking about happened, so I didn't get things done as quickly as I thought. So I came back out here later and pulled the carburetor rest of the way apart, and thought I'd show you what I found in there. I also noticed that the focus on some of these parts wasn't real good. So take a look at that. Let's see if that'll focus up. Come on, camera. There we go. I don't know if you can see it. Oh yeah, you can see the swampy stuff down there at the bottom. It's just all fuel. And that's what fuel looks like when it goes bad. And you can actually see the level that it came up to in this, in the bottom of this carb. Let's see if we'll go. Yeah, there we go. It came up to about right there. So what a mess. Anyway, it's all apart, and we're going to get it into the bath. Here's all the pieces, the individual pieces here. You can see float bowl that we just looked at, pretty nasty. The floats, I picked a little bit of the stuff off of the floats themselves, but they're still pretty screwed up. Carb body is surprisingly pretty clean, the upper part of it. It's just you can see where it's set into the fuel, and then the fuel went into varnish. I had a bit of trouble getting this cap off of the top of the carb top. This thing's just like a rock, so I had to soak the whole thing in hot water for a while till it loosened up, and then I could get it off. The needle and seat look okay. Seat's fine, it'll clean up. The needle's fine. The throttle needle's fine. The slide I already kind of cleaned up, but put that in there too, and see where we get. I got some of this stuff. It's Yamaha carburetor cleaner, and it's some kind of water-based stuff. Never used it before. We'll see how that goes. And if that doesn't work, I made a recent trip out of state and I managed to score some mineral spirits. So I brought back a couple gallons of that, smuggled it across the border. It'll be okay, they'll never catch me. But the stuff's strange. It's kind of a milky white color. It's not like the stuff I used before. It does work the same though. So we'll see. Should be okay. So this stuff says to mix it for use in close, blah blah blah. 1 part carburetor cleaner dip, 2 parts clean warm water. Soak time minimum of 1 hour, maximum 8. If parts are not clean after 8, clean parts manually. I'll give it a try. We'll put some in here and see where we get with it. Let me go mix some up. I mixed it up 2 to 1. So we got 4 cups of hot water in there and 2 cups of this stuff. I've never used this stuff before. It smells like a degreaser called gunk. I don't know if any of you have used that before. It actually kind of looks like it too. Once you get it mixed with the water, it sort of emulsifies. But, oh, forgot to take the pilot jet out of this. Let me do that real fast. Or that's not a pilot jet, it's an air bleed. Alright, this is going to take a minute, so I'm going to give that. Well, that's not coming out. It looks like somebody's been at it once before, so I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and put it in there and see if it'll loosen itself up, whatever varnish is on it, by sitting in this sauce here, and give it a try later. So put all these parts in here. The float's actually floating, which is what it's supposed to do. So cool. Main jet, needle and seat, all good in the needle. All right, let's see where this gets us. I'm gonna let that kind of cook and see what's happening. Oh, it's getting kind of a cool reaction here. Let me bring you over. So I dropped these parts in, and the stuff kind of started fizzing a little bit. You can see that there's some kind of a reaction taking place in there, so I'm hoping it takes all that varnish off. We'll let it sit for a few hours and see where it gets us. Well, parts are out of the sauce, and I'm really surprised at how good they look. There's a float bowl that was just terrible manky. That's all nice and clean. The carburetor body's nice and clean. Looks really good. I'm super surprised by this. So it's time to put this thing back together, and it's all good. Just gonna have to run down to the auto parts store, try to find an O-ring for there, and we're good to go. Reassembly time. Remember, I think I told you I was looking for a fiber washer that I thought was sitting under the main jet, and then I remembered that it's a little fiber washer that sits below the seat for the needle and seat, and that was in pretty good shape, so that's not a problem. So put that back on. It's a 10mm socket. And just as I say, that's not a problem. I can get the thing threaded back in. There we go. All good. Main jet, just a number 95 main jet, and I just looked to see if I could get a smaller main jet for this thing. I remember when I was a kid that it always seemed to run a bit rich, always. And we fooled around. We dropped the needle. Down a notch. I'll show you these little. The needle has notches here, and there's a clip, and that's what lets us sit down in the main jet. To try to lean it out, but it just always seemed to run rich. And by the time I got to where I knew what the hell I was doing, I didn't want this bike anymore anyway, so I just kind of gave up on it and moved on. It's funny when you're a kid, you know, you just move past things and it's, you know, let it be somebody else's problem, I guess, is what it came down to. So I let it be my granddad's problem. Alright, floats back in, main jet's back in, needle and seat are back in, and they moved real nice. I think it may be a little bit low. Like it doesn't even touch the seat. So let's push that down. There's a little tab right here that you can bend up or bend down, and what that does is it works against the needle, which is right here, and that opens and closes the flow of gas into the float bowl. So it should be about level, and I think this one's way too, I don't know, way too high, low, whichever. I'll bend it down the other way, see if we can get to where it makes sense. Listen, it's not even close. I wonder if this is what the problem was all along. Okay, I think we're there. We'll see. I think there needs to be fuel coming in to force the needle down so that the float will work against it, but I can't tell. On the later bikes, they had a little clip that went over the seat, kind of a spring thing that would make the seat move up and down with the float. But this is an early one, and it doesn't have that, so no big deal. Carry on. Put the petrified gasket back on. It'll be great. But I'm really stoked on how clean the flow bowl got. That stuff came out pretty nice. The only thing I will say about this stuff, and by the way, I do recommend, it works fine. It leaves a bit of a film, kind of a milky film on it. So I rinsed everything off with acetone, and that cleaned it right up. It made it really nice. So all good. I did get the air bleed screw out of the carb. I just put a little heat on it, but you can see that it had gotten pretty chewed up on top. So I flattened it off with a file, and I took a hacksaw and kind of cut this down a little bit deeper. There's a guy that I can get this stuff from in England that has a lot of Suzuki parts, but you know, it's like 15 bucks for an air bleed screw, and then like another 15 bucks to mail it to me. So we'll make this one work. And it goes in pretty easy now. And I don't think we'll need to crank it all the way in like it was. I think there was some compensation going on by somebody. But we're good. So that's done. All cool. Put this back together. I'm not going to put this rubber boot back on top because it's just terrible. It just doesn't work. See about getting this O-ring, and I could basically bolt that back onto the motor, and we're good to go. So I think that's going to wrap up this video. Tomorrow I'll get the O-ring. I did repair all the wiring on the motor. I put all new ends on it and had to splice a couple wires together. That all came out fine. Stuff's just brittle. And I think next we're going to get the electrical parts bolted back into the frame, and that'll be a separate video. So I'll show you what we're going to do. So the next step will be to get the coil back in. What else we got? That's the little gizmochi that holds the battery into here. Key, brake light switch, rectifier, and then we'll put the engine back in, and this thing will sit steady. I got all the stuff cleaned up for the center stand, all those parts. I can put those back on. After that's in, then I'm going to go back to the forks. We'll put the forks on it, and we'll just keep on going. I think that's about it. There's the motor. There's the carb. It's time to put it back together. Talk to you later.